Stop the discovery. New York Times granted win in Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni clash as dismissal pondered by judge.
Like, this case is just boom, 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 boom. But we have a ruling on the motion to stay discovery against the New York Times.
War is rarely won quickly and without some bumps along the way.
The New York Times operating as a journalist or a co-conspirator with Blake Lively.
There's a big update in one of Justin Baldoni's legal battles.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds find themselves at the center of a shocking legal drama as Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit takes an unexpected and tumultuous turn. The New York Times has successfully evaded discovery, leaving Baldoni's case precariously balanced. Allegations of misconduct, smear campaigns, and hidden industry secrets are emerging, sending shockwaves through Tinseltown.
So I just want to point out, Stuart, that in most cases, you don't have filings and rulings like this often. Like, this case is just boom, 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 boom. But we have a ruling on the motion to stay discovery against the New York Times. Not a ruling on the motion to dismiss. So that's an important distinction. This is only a ruling on the motion to stay discovery against the New York Times.
Not against the New York Times.
Oh, yeah, in favor of the New York Times. Right. Yeah, that's true.
All right.
So let's take a look at what they decided. And so really what the court's doing here is it's saying, okay, we're going to put a stop to discovery. We're just going to shut it down for right now, as opposed any discovery going to the New York Times. And you'll see right here that the New York Times Company, pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 26C for a stay of discovery as it relates to the New York Times, pending a decision on its motion to dismiss, and that motion is granted. So the parties, the plaintiffs, cannot send discovery or do discovery against the New York Times temporarily while the motion to dismiss is being decided.
As the courtroom showdown unfolds, questions arise about who is gaining the upper hand, who is facing defeat, and who may be concealing the truth. In a significant ruling, the court has decided on the motion to stay discovery against the New York Times.
The filing, which requests that the judge temporarily halt parties from having to exchange information or documents, was granted as United States District Judge Louis J. Lyman reviews the outlet's February 28th motion of dismissal. He notes in the most recent document that the New York Times, which is included in the lawsuit for its December reporting on Blake's Civil Rights Department complaint, presents, quote, substantial grounds and a strong showing that its motion to dismiss is likely to succeed on the merits. Well, Justin's team argues that obtaining discovery against the New York Times will not be voluminous and burdensome because it will cover a relatively narrow time frame. Judge Lyman explains that the burden of discovery is not measured only by the number of pages. He emphasizes it is also determined by the complexity of the issue that discovery will present and the sensitivity of the documents that will be requested. The judge adds that if the court denies the newspaper's motion, Justin's team, who is also suing the New York Times in a separate $250 million defamation lawsuit, can request the extent of discovery they are seeking,
effectively halting any evidence collection while the judge reviews the newspaper's motion to dismiss Baldoni's extensive defamation lawsuit. This decision could deliver a substantial blow to Baldoni's case, as the judge emphasizes the complexity and sensitivity of the documents that would be requested.
And so the judge, it's not necessarily that the judge is saying that it's going to be, the New York Times is going to be successful on one particular argument. They're just saying that overall, it looks like their motion to dismiss is pretty strong. And in fact, the plaintiffs even admitted that maybe they need to amend their complaint to clean up a few things. So it's not as if the judge is saying the New York Times wins their entire case. I think the judge is looking at this and saying, it looks to me like there's going to be amended complaint coming anyway from the plaintiff, so why don't we just let that happen?
I see it a little differently, and that is, the court clearly has reviewed the 12b6 motion filed by the New York Times, and after that review, even before they see Baldoni's response, this judge is putting everyone on notice. Hey, there are substantial grounds here. I've done a lot of these cases. I've dealt with a lot of press issues, New York Times and other reporters. And, we want to treat this stuff as privileged in most cases. And if you remember, in the moving papers by the New York Times and the moving motion, they pointed out the law that said most cases that are brought like this are dismissed at the 12b6 timing, at the motion to dismiss.
The New York Times argues that its motion to dismiss is likely to succeed, while Baldoni's legal team contends that obtaining discovery will not be overly burdensome, given the narrow time frame involved. The legal conflict traces back to allegations made by Lively against Baldoni during the production of the film It Ends With Us.
So Blake Lively, she first went public with allegations against Justin Baldoni on December 20th. That is when she filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. And in documents that were reviewed by the New York Times, she accused Baldoni, his production company Wayfarer Studios, and others of retaliating against her. Lively claimed that she had raised concerns about a hostile work environment during the production of the movie It Ends With Us. This is a romantic drama that's based on the hit novel by Colleen Hoover. According to Lively, Baldoni repeatedly invaded her personal space, entered her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressing or breastfeeding her newborn. She also claimed that Baldoni's behavior contributed to a toxic atmosphere on set, and that nearly derailed the whole production. Her legal team claimed that Baldoni showed a shocking lack of boundaries, and even went so far as to suggest that Baldoni then orchestrated a smear campaign against her following her speaking up and trying to address the issues on set.
Lively publicly accused Baldoni of inappropriate behavior on set, which ignited a media firestorm. In response, Baldoni filed a defamation lawsuit against Lively, claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress and alleging a coordinated smear campaign against him.
And keep in mind the reporter's privilege, it limits circumstances in which litigants, people that are litigating, can get the reporter's files, the press's files, through court order discovery. And this is akin to if you have a lawyer and you go in and you hire a lawyer and you tell your lawyer all kinds of bad things that could hurt you, nobody can get your lawyer's files in discovery. If you go to your priest and you tell your priest a bunch of bad things that you've done, nobody can get your priest to testify against you. So this is just one more privilege that's out there. And all the privileges are a little bit different, but this is the reporter's privilege. And we want to limit the ability of litigants to sue and to get the files from a reporter that are going after the person that gave the reporter that information, because we want the reporters to have the ability to be, as it says here, vigorous, aggressive, and independent.
The New York Times, included in the lawsuit for its reporting on Lively's allegations, maintains that it was simply engaging in standard journalistic practices. As the judge reviews the case, he notes that the New York Times has presented substantial grounds for dismissal, indicating that the newspaper's argument is strong.
What Ryan and Blake's narrative is, they both were not in relationships. When they did get together, it was after the filming of Green Lantern, and everything was good. But I think what made everything more complicated was there was a rumor due to a tweet that was sent out by a reporter. So that's kind of the odd thing here.
Smoking gun, if you will. This is what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, here we have the article. That during the allegation of this really all stemmed from a journalist who now claimed it in a deleted tweet.
Yes.
Now, the tweet has been archived. Here it is from Kat Marnell. Fun fact, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds hooked up when Ryan Reynolds was still married to ScarJo and holed up in a NOLA hotel room during the Green Lantern. Us Weekly had discovered this, and their beauty editor would tell us this at events and about how Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's team's threats squashed the story. Now, again, this person's reporting, it is hearsay, right? Because she's clearly
hearsay.
saying,
this is
the beauty editor over at this place is telling me this, so it is multiple steps to confirm this, everybody, so it's not confirmed. But it wouldn't be a surprise. They clearly had chemistry during that tour. I remember, Kim, all the junkets that people have seen of Ryan and Blake, there is so much seemingly flirtation. I would say even more than what Justin and Blake was having on their videos, that everyone seems to think there was a relationship. The chemistry between Ryan and Blake was palpable.
The plaintiffs have even acknowledged the possibility of needing to amend their complaint, suggesting potential weaknesses in their case. The judge's ruling signals that the New York Times may emerge from this legal battle relatively unscathed, which could significantly impact Baldoni's chances of success.
Because as we've been going through this whole drama with Justin Baldoni, we're learning so much about the way that PR works, and things that happen behind the scenes, right? We're seeing all these texts of these PR employees and agents that are all speaking with press outlets directly trying to make sure there's good stories about their, their client, or blocking potential stories about their client. And it makes me start to wonder, like, could this really be possible? Would this be something? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there have been stories of affairs between celebrities that have been blocked in the press because of PR. And I think that's part of why this whole Justin Baldoni story is so fascinating. It's just because people are really getting a behind the scenes look at the reality of PR and what all of that means.
I mean, the other thing that we can't, because you didn't even have this in there, but I'm going there, Kim, because if we really go through it, Blake Lively has had a history of being with her co-stars.
It's true.
That's what's being alleged here between, obviously, as we know, with Penn Badgley, Ryan Reynolds. There was talk about Leonardo DiCaprio.
Amidst the legal turmoil, speculation surrounding Lively's personal life adds another layer of complexity to the situation. Online discussions have resurfaced regarding her relationship timeline with Reynolds, with some questioning whether their romance began before their previous relationships had ended.
Shampoo company owner Blake Lively hired herself a new crisis PR expert, Nick Shapiro, who used to work in the federal government at the CIA, Deputy Chief of Staff for John Brennan. He's been out of public service now for a decade and started his own crisis PR firm. And now, the Los Angeles Times has just come out with a hit piece on Justin Baldoni. The timing of that is remarkable. I'm gonna go through with you all of the allegations in the LA Times article, beat by beat, but spoiler alert, he's too much of a nice guy. Toxic positivity. The villainous Virgo needs to try harder. And not only is it a hit piece against Baldoni, it's also a hit piece against his religion, the Baha'i faith. Some folks who used to work for Baldoni spoke to the LA Times, and one former staffer told them, quote, "It was constant positivity all the time. I would say toxic positivity. I'm always a little dubious of people who advertise themselves as disruptors of the status quo or quote unquote good people. It felt phony."
A now deleted tweet from a journalist has reignited debates about celebrity PR tactics, suggesting that the narrative surrounding Lively and Reynolds may be more complicated than it appears. While Lively and Reynolds maintain that they were both single when they began dating after working together on Green Lantern in 2010,
I would rather celebrities do good just to make themselves look good than not do good at all. Think about it. And I'm not saying that's what's going on with Justin Baldoni. In fact, I think he is just a good person. Very extra, okay? Very extra.
the resurfacing of this tweet has sparked fresh discussions about the nature of their relationship. The legal drama intensifies further as Baldoni faces backlash from an LA Times article that paints a less than flattering picture of his leadership at Wayfair Studios. The article accuses Baldoni of fostering a work culture driven by toxic positivity.
But for the most part, the law does protect press, and they argued in the documents that we went through when we did members only the other night, they argue that they have privileges, right? They have the privilege of the press where they can, as long as they report on a story that they're given, you know, their source may be wrong and they don't know that, but they're just reporting this legal document that was given to them. And all they have to do is report on that they don't even have to tell both sides of the story if they don't want to. They're not required to. And the fact that they even decided to allow Baldoni to comment and give him a statement in their letter, that alone was them, you know, doing him a solid. Like, that's them doing their journalistic integrity to try and tell both sides of the story, even though they didn't really, but they didn't have to. And so they have the protection, the privileges of the press. And not only that, but they also have the privileges of opinion, because they can have an opinion, and just because it's an opinion doesn't necessarily mean that people should or would take it as fact, even though when they say it's a smear campaign, we hold them to a higher standard. And we believe that when the New York Times tells us that something is a smear campaign, that we trust them, right? We should trust the media. And the New York Times basically said, like, no, you shouldn't trust us. Like, that was just our opinion that it was a smear campaign. But like, we're protected. You know, our opinion is sacred. Like, we can give you our opinion, and we don't even have to tell you that it's our opinion, and we don't even have to fact check it if we don't want to. We can fact check it as much as, you know, we basically want to. They basically exposed how the media gets away with their bullshit, and it was jarring.
Prioritizing emotionally charged content over professional boundaries, and pushing his Baha'i faith too heavily in the workplace. While some former staffers defend him as a kind and well-intentioned leader, others express discomfort with his approach, suggesting that it created an unhealthy work environment. In response to the mounting pressure, Lively has enlisted the help of a new crisis PR expert, Nick Shapiro, who has a background in federal government service and crisis management. His expertise is expected to help navigate the complexities of the situation as the legal battle unfolds. As the March 2026 trial date approaches, the stakes continue to rise for all parties involved.
Now, is this a smear campaign? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It is a reputable company, relatively, LA Times, not addressing the mischaracterizations by Blake Lively. So they were fair in the he said, she said aspect. They included other jabs at the credibility of Wayfair, the lawsuit, which, by the way, sure, they were sued by a former employee who is black, but Jamie Heath is black. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying they have an issue there, but it's kind of hard to be like, you know, the case settled, you know, there was nothing else to say about it. They claims there was no issue. I don't know. It seems a whole bunch of nothing. Same thing with the cystic fibrosis case. It's like, look, you know, these things didn't lead anywhere. So the glaring thing that's missing here is like, sure, you say, all right, they talk about Blake Lively having power, which is fair, but what they don't talk about is all of her mischaracterizations and why the audience is on Justin Baldoni's side. They leave all of that out. So not a slam dunk smear piece, but it's actually a pretty smart piece because it kind of leaves it in doubt. And I think at this point, the best thing for Blake Lively is to get back to neutral ground. She's like, I don't even need you to believe me. I just need you to not believe him. And that seems to be what's going on right here. And we'll probably see more articles like this that sort of shift the focus away from Blake Lively and more onto Justin Baldoni, but not in a way that exonerates him, just in a way that casts a lot of doubt.
Will Baldoni emerge victorious, or will Lively and the New York Times successfully dismantle his case? The outcome remains uncertain, with critical questions lingering about the truth behind the allegations and whether a smear campaign is at play. The legal saga is revealing the intricate dynamics of public relations and media influence within the entertainment industry, captivating audiences and drawing them into the unfolding drama. With the next court hearing on the horizon, anticipation builds among observers eager for updates.
Oh boy, I don't know. Who knows what comes tomorrow? On Thursday, they're having the court hearing, which is going to be available by to the public by call-in. So we will be listening to that. I don't think we're going to live stream it because I know some people are. I'd rather listen to it and then we'll give our opinions on it and just kind of walk through what happened from our standpoint as lawyers and kind of where it goes from there. I'll tell you, most court hearings are pretty boring, especially initial court hearings. And so a lot of it's just scheduling where they just say, okay, you know, we'll put this out until such and such a date. And somebody says, you know, I've got a procedural issue, Your Honor. And so it's not going to be as exciting as people think it probably will be, but we'll listen to it and we'll give an update on that. And then I think the next stage is what's going to happen with the New York Times. Is Baldoni going to amend his complaint? I think so. Or is he going to file a response to the motion to dismiss? Stay tuned. We'll find out.
As soon as we know something, we will come back on and chat with you all again.
The legal battle is far from over, and the implications for careers, reputations, and millions of dollars are significant. As the drama continues to unfold, all eyes are on the judge's next move, and the entertainment world holds its breath, waiting to see how this high-stakes showdown will ultimately play out. The complexities of the case, the interplay of personal and professional lives, and the broader implications for the industry make this a captivating story that is sure to keep audiences engaged.